Hey guys, it's Mr. Meister, and I hope you all are well and adjusting to this new normal of doing school through e-learning. Hopefully it's working out for you. Many of you I know have been doing a great job of keeping up with your assignments. Let me encourage you not to fall behind in case you're one of those that are like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get caught up. I thought I'd make a video this week because up until now, most everything we've done on the Google side in the e-learning, you've already done in Microsoft Office. And as I said, even before we left for e-learning, this was something that we were going to do anyways, and it was very fortunate that it worked out the way it did, that we got through as much as we did. But this particular week, we're going to start talking about charts, which we haven't done in Office. And we won't do it in Office because obviously many of you don't have access to Microsoft Office. Now, as I said before, some of you are maybe wondering, well, why are we using Google Docs? Why are we using Google Sheets? Because it doesn't seem to do as much as Office. And that is very true. And I, as you recall, may have even told you that before we left when we were all together, that part of the reason I want you to learn Google is twofold. One, it's probably a platform you're going to see because of the collaboration elements that Office can't do that. And the other reason I like to have you use Google is I intentionally kind of don't show you how to do everything step by step like we did in class. And the reason for that is I want you to figure it out on your own. The reality is down the road, you're going to be introduced to software and you're not going to know the ins and outs. And I really highly doubt you'll read the manual from cover to cover. You'll probably learn to figure it out for yourself. And so figuring out when you know how to do something in one program, it's usually pretty simple to figure out and how to do it in the other. And so that's kind of why I leave some instructions with Google, the Google assignments, a little bit vague because I want you to figure it out. I don't want to just spoon feed you how to do absolutely everything because down the road, I'm not always going to be there to spoon feed. You're going to have to figure it out for yourself. So charts, even today, this video, I will give you the basics of what you need to know, but the reality is you're going to have to play around with a little bit and figure some stuff out. And that to me is the best way for you to learn how to use the software rather than me telling you step by step, click here, go to this menu, go to that menu, because then what's really guiding is my instructions and you're not really learning. When you figure it out for yourself, you're probably going to be more likely to remember it. So with that being said, this week we're doing 3 chart assignments. I'm going to flip the screen over and show you what I'm looking at so that you can kind of get an overview. Again, these instructions are not meant to be absolutely everything you need to complete these assignments, but it is the majority of it, and it'll give you the basics. But you will have to play around, go under some of the menu choices and figure some of these things out, because as always, my assignments start off pretty easy, but as you get further and further into the unit, as you discovered, some of the things I ask you to do get a little more challenging, and you got to play around a little bit to figure things out. All right, so let's take a look at your 3 assignments. So before I begin, I'm going to assume you've already gone into Canvas and opened up the Google's chart assignments 1 through 3, and you're taking a look at that, or you have that open on the side of your screen, because as I go through the data here and the instructions, I think it'll make more sense to have that open at the same time, and you'll understand better what I'm doing. Also, for sake of time, I've already keyed in the data into 3 sheets here, so things will hopefully go faster and the video will be a little bit shorter. Now, the first thing you need to know when you're making a chart is, yes, it all has to be keyed in to a spreadsheet, but then to create a chart, you got to highlight the cells that you want to be included in the chart. Now, this wouldn't include just the data, like the numbers here, but you also want to grab these headings in here because these headings will also play a role in the chart as well. Once you have it all highlighted, I'm going to drag my cursor over to here, and this tool over here says Insert Chart. I'm going to click on Insert Chart, and momentarily the computer will automatically kind of make a chart that it thinks, hey, I think this is what you want. Now, as we've talked about before, the computer will never make a mistake, but that doesn't necessarily mean the computer will always give you what you want. All right, and so we'll talk about this for a couple of reasons. All right, let's just start off right off the bat. I mean, it made this very nice looking chart, and you might be very tempted to turn this into a teacher or even to me. But the first thing I would always caution you to do is to look and make sure your data is really reporting what it should. All right. For example, if you look at my data up here in the October column, in the month of October, horror had 18 new films, comedy had only 6 new films, and drama had only 8 new films. Now, as I look at my data down here in the chart, it's not really reflecting, it's not correct. And you can see here, it's like, wait, the computer made a choice and it doesn't make sense. Because this certainly looks like 18, I would agree with that, but this is certainly not 6 and this is not 8. And so the computer took a guess at what I wanted to do with the data, but the computer guessed wrong. Now, the good news is there's ways to fix this, but the only way you'll ever be able to fix this is if you first catch the mistake. And so check your data as soon as it generates something, just look and make sure that it makes logical sense. And right now, this is not making sense. It looks very pretty, but it doesn't make sense. So to fix this right away, and I even put an instruction in the sheet, you'll notice that this little chart editor thing opened up. And when you're first creating a chart, this will happen every time. And there's 2 windows here that you want to pay attention to. Setup is like your initial stuff when you're setting your chart up. It has to do with the ranges and some of the series and all of this stuff. And again, I would encourage you to play around with this and do that. But there is one little button down here that the computer turned off that I'm going to turn on. It says switch rows and columns. When I click this button, it kind of says, okay, wait, I think maybe I messed up, and the computer did in fact mess up. Now let's look at our data and see if it makes more sense. In the month of October, horror was 18, comedy was 6, down here, and drama was 8. Does this look correct? And the answer there is yes. So first step when creating a chart is always to check your data and make sure that it looks like it's making sense. The same thing I said in spreadsheets when you're doing calculations. Some of you were buying erasers for $4 and paying $4,000 in tax. And you just got to look at your formulas and say, yeah, that doesn't look right. All right, so let's move this video along here. So some of the instructions are going to tell you some basics like customizing and making the chart look nicer. So for starters, I'll tell you, hey, I want you to change the title. So to change the title, you click over here on customize, and you'll see all of these things that you can select. Now, I wanted you to make a bar chart, and we'll talk about this at a later time, or column chart. What I really want to get into are the titles here. So if I turn this little thing here, I can name my chart title, I can create a subtitle, and my horizontal and vertical axis. So I do not want to call, I want to call my title, the instructions tell you to call this last year's movie releases. All right, and I tell you I want a font size of 20, and I tell you I want it bolded. All right, and then I also go down further in the instructions. You'll see I will tell you that in the horizontal axis, I want it to say a month, and I want that, I believe, to be 18 and bolded. And then I also say I want in the vertical axis, I want the word amount typed in. Oops, I got it. And again, I'm going to make that font size of 18. All right, and I want that bolded as well. All right, and so I've done all of that, and I can click off, and we're done there. Now, as I scroll down, you'll see some other instructions that say about the horizontal and vertical titles should also be set to 16 point. And again, if I click down here on horizontal axis, I can change this to 16. Notice how it got bigger. And as I go down to vertical axis, I can change that to 16 as well. All right, and this way I can make this look the way that I want. Now, one of the last things the instructions are going to tell you is, just to mess with you a little bit, I want you to change the colors around. So that you're going to, I believe, going to find under legend. So if you turn legend over here, you are going to see that it is not there. I meant to click on series, sorry. And it's, well, where is it now? It's not in series and it's not in legend. It's got to be somewhere. So hold on one second. Really thought it was in here. So another way you can click on these is you can click on, yeah, it is in series. You can click on here, and I tell you that I want horror to not be blue. I want it to be red, you know, for blood. All right. And I tell you also in comedy, I would like comedy to be yellow, I believe. So we'll make this yellow. And for the last one, drama, I tell you that I would like it blue, so we'll make that blue. All right. And again, some of you may have missed where I got to here. This is under the series little tab here, and this will pop up under here. I also, if you were watching what I was doing, I can double click and get to the same spot here. The same way if I wanted to change the title, it will automatically open up over here. So you can, I show you both ways, I show you both ways so you can see how I get to the long way here. All right, last thing in your instructions is it tells you about major grid lines. And again, if you play around at all with this stuff, you'll see grid lines down here, and you can change the amount of grid lines. Now, the computer guessed 5, and yes, I wanted 5. But if you wanted to change it to say, 8, you could change it to 8. You can change your grid lines to whatever number you want. It really depends on the data that you're playing around with. Minor grid line has to do with the stuff that's underneath there, and I'm going to change that to 2. And you'll notice, if you can see on your computer screen there, it put little lines in between there. All right. Now this chart is done, and hopefully this is what yours will look like. So hopefully you're discovering making these charts is really not too difficult. And truth be told, if you make a mistake, it's really as simple as deleting your chart, and you can remake another one pretty quick. You want to know how fast to remake one? Well, now I'm on chart number 2. And so let's fly through this one. I'll highlight all my data. I'll click on Insert Chart, and voila, I already have a new chart created. And if I didn't like this one, or I highlighted the data wrong, or made some kind of mistake, it's really quite easy to fix. Now, this one, the computer again automatically chose what kind of chart to make. I wanted you to make a pie chart. The computer did choose well, but the computer did also make some choices of things that I'm not really excited about. All right. One of the first things that it did is it created kind of all of this, it was labeling what all of the pie slices were. All right. So when I click over here and customize, one of the first things I'm going to jump to is over here where it says pie chart. I want to open this up, and I want to tell the computer that I don't like the way these labels, it's kind of hard to tell what is what right now. So I want to make this easier for my audience. So I'm going to click on Slice Label. I'm going to actually say I want values and percentages. Now, you can play around with how things are showing up in there, and I'll let you do that. But click on Values and Percentages. The next things the instructions are going to tell you to do is ask you to change all these colors. And again, it's as easy as double clicking on this, and it'll bring up the pie slice menu, and I can change these to any colors that I want. For sake of time, I'm going to let you, follow the instructions and change the colors to what they're supposed to be. But as you can see here, I can change the colors to any color that I want to. The next thing that is worth talking about that you might get a little thrown off by this is this legend. All right, and the legend right now, the way the pie slices are identified, there is often called a legend, just like a map has a legend. Well, I want to turn this, the computer chose to label it this way. I'm saying, nope, that's not what I want. I want my legend to appear on the right side. And now it will say gray is Arizona, purple is California, yellow is Nevada. And that's how I want my legend to appear. And yes, change the font size around, rename the stuff. Again, follow the instructions. This is all stuff you know how to do. And this assignment is done. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. And again, the instructions begin by telling you, and I know you might not be able to see it, at least I can't on my screen here, you're creating new sheets all within the same document that is, you have it named in one Google Doc. One Google Sheet doc. Please don't make 3 separate assignments, just add 3 sheets to this one file, if that makes sense. And again, follow the instructions at the top of each assignment, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. All right, let's talk about the final assignment, and that is the stock price one. And this one, again, you can see the data doesn't have to look pretty as I'm inputting it, but as I highlight all of my data and create my chart, I've created my chart. And there's my chart. And really about the only tricky thing with this one here, because the rest of the stuff is in the instructions, is just, you can see here that sometimes the data doesn't quite show up the way you want. The range here, see how the range starts at 0. The instructions will show you how to change the range so it starts from 30 and goes to 50. I can change this line and make this any color that I want. I can make this purple, and I could make it, really thick if I wanted to. I could put data labels on here. The instructions will tell you what I'm looking for. But what I want you to see here is, most of the things that you're going to want to do to finish these assignments are all right in here. And if you can't find it, and it's like, man, it's asking me to change 5 working days, but I don't remember, what is that called? The horizontal axis, a vertical axis? Honestly, just click on it and it'll pull it right up. It's a horizontal axis title, and you can change it to whatever you want and make the font size, whatever size you want. And there it is. All right. These assignments are not meant to be tough. I'm guessing if you are focused and you play around with these a little bit, you should be done with them in 45 to 60 minutes easily. But if you need more time, that is okay too, because sometimes the students who take more time are the ones who learn it better because they're taking some time to play around with it. Don't just plow through my instructions, but experiment a little bit. Try clicking on things, and if you make a real mess of your data and you start changing things and you're unhappy with, like, okay, I made all these choices and it looks really ugly and I think I messed it up because of some of the things you selected, and it's just a matter of deleting the chart and making a new one and just starting over again, and it's that easy. All right, so don't let this one trip you up. Well, I hope you found that tutorial helpful. If you get stuck as you go through these assignments, the first thing I would encourage you to do is definitely play around. Don't just throw in the towel right away and quit and be like, I can't figure it out, it's too hard. It's not. Matter of fact, Microsoft Office is much more complex. Google is fairly simplistic, and it's honestly just a matter of experimenting a little bit. So make sure you take the time to experiment. But if you do get stuck and you're like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff, you've reviewed this video and you're still totally stuck, of course, send me an email, kmeister@d120.org, and I will be happy to help walk you through wherever it is you're stuck. But I foresee that you probably won't have too many problems because these assignments are pretty easy and Google is pretty easy to figure out. But again, don't ever be afraid to contact me if you have any questions. Hope all is well. Get your work done, but make sure you enjoy some sunshine every now and then too. See you all later.